Okay, g'day folks. I'm Tony Perry. I'm the harmonica technician for Hohner in Australia, and I work for Kurt Jacob and Company, who are the wholesale distributors of Hohner harmonicas, accordions and all sorts of other things in Australia, and been doing that since 1938. So I've been repairing harmonicas for about 25 years, and I get a lot of questions from people ringing up, especially retailers, and they're not sure about different harmonicas. I get customers ringing up, especially new people, and they say, oh, I went into the shops, they don't know anything, they don't have any stock, blah blah blah. So the idea of this video is to give you some help with the different types of harmonicas, so you understand what the differences are, and also how to approach dealing with customers who come in. And later on I'll also talk about warranty issues and what to do if someone comes in with a problem. So essentially there are different types of harmonicas. There are three main types of harmonicas that you can buy. You have the blues harp style diatonic 10-hole harmonica, and these are really popular. They're fantastic, got a great sound. And they can be played in all sorts of music, and these days people like Howard Levy are doing concertos on them. So it's mind-boggling what you can do on these little instruments, and there are lots of different models, and you know, different harps for different people. So one of the features about this is that you can bend the note. So you can hit a note and then you can bend it down, and you can do that on blow and draw notes. You've got a limited scale. You've got 10 holes. It goes across 3 octaves, and each one comes in a different key. Now when people come in and they want to buy something, by far the biggest selling harmonica key is the key of C. So if you're looking to get some stock in, you start with the key of C. However, what you need to do is ask people who they're playing with and what sort of music they want to play, because the harmonica and the instruments that you play with and the style of music you play will determine really what's a good key to start with. Now essentially it doesn't matter if you're starting off and they're playing on their own. They can get any key. This is a G. Here's an F sharp. So the G in the standard chromatic notes, 12 notes in the scale, the G's down the bottom and the F sharp's up the top. It's up high. You can play the same tunes, different keys, but if you're playing with another instrument, then you've got to choose the right key. Now if you're playing with piano or maybe a recorder, C is a good key to start with, because C is easy to play and a common key in that mode. But if you're playing with a guitarist, they tend to play in the key of E or A or D or G. So you want to get a harmonica that maybe goes with that. If you're playing with a violinist, they often, like folk music, they might be playing in the key of D if it's Irish music, or G. So kind of helps to think a little bit about what key they want. And if you ask the person what sort of music do they want to play or do they like to listen to, that can help, you know, get the right harmonica for them. Okay, another type of harmonica is the chromatic harmonica, and they come in different sizes from 8-hole up to 16 holes. Each 4 holes represents 1 octave. So the standard chromatic harmonica is the 3-octave 12-hole chromatic. Very popular harmonica in the key of C, but they do come in other keys. Now the advantage of one of these harmonicas is that they have all 12 notes, like the white and black keys on a piano. They have the full chromatic range, and so you can, if you're good enough, play anything. All the notes are there. But there are some differences to the diatonic harmonica. One is essentially you can't really bend. You can kind of bend down a little bit, but you can't bend a note. If you need to go from an A to an A flat, you use the button to go from A to A flat or in that scale. There's a button here on the side which takes you from the one plate up to the next semitone or down. So essentially you can't really bend. You can do a slight bend, but it's not really a bend, and the reason for that is that they have wind savers on them. So each hole has 2 reeds, but one reed is the opposite reed. If you're blowing, the draw reed has a valve on it which stops the air going in and keeps it airtight. If you take the valves off, which people might do because they're making too much noise or whatever, you're just going to lose all your air tightness. So the chromatic harmonica is a totally different sort of instrument to the diatonic harmonica. It's used in classical and jazz music, and it can be used in blues, and you can play anything on it, but it has a different sound. That's a chromatic in the key of E. Now, people might think, why would you get a chromatic in the key of E when you've got a C chromatic and it's got all the notes? Well, you got to think of it like a guitar player using a capo, or using a bar chord, or using open tuning on a guitar. You can play a G chord on a guitar, or you can tune to open G. Totally different sound. So when you get a chromatic, most of them are in the key of C, and some models are only made in the key of C. The 16-hole chromatics are only made in the key of C, but the 270 or the Super Chromatica 12-hole, they come in, I think, about 9 different keys, and the CX12 chromatic, which is a 12-hole 3-octave harmonica, comes in 9 different keys. Keys such as D, E, E flat, F, G, A, B, B flat B, C. So you've got a whole range. Now, most people have never tried them and have never heard them. So this is an E, an F, an A, here's a G, so it's just like a diatonic, switching keys. Now, sometimes I love the F and the D because they're lower, and the advantage of those is that when you play up on the top end notes, let's find my F here, on the C harmonica the note is very high and it takes a lot of control, and it's so high it's sometimes not the best sound. But on the F, as you're going down the piano, for instance, or down the scale, the F is lower and the top notes are very nice. So, and it's got a nice deep bassy sound. So D, E and F chromatics are fantastic. Now the other thing is with chromatics, especially in blues, is you often play what's called third position. So if you've got a C chromatic, instead of playing in the key of C, you can play in the key of D or D minor. Why is that? Because when you blow the one hole, you've got a C. When you draw the one hole, you've got the D. So that D scale is there. It fits really nicely. Now, if you get your F harp and you blow one is F, but the draw one is G, F, G. So suddenly you can play a nice chromatic blues in the key of G with your F harp. It's called third position. Okay, so with chromatics, think about it and try maybe some different keys. So when a customer comes in, you don't have to sell them the C. Sometimes guys come in, I want another chromatic, want another harmonica. Instead of looking for another C, maybe suggest another key. And Usually when guys have been playing for quite a while, you'll find they can play in 2 or 3 or 4 different keys. And so, for instance, if you're playing first position, you have a C harmonica in the key of C. If you're playing in second position, you might be playing in the key of G, but you're using a C harmonica. Okay. Now, if you had the F harmonica, first position would be the key of F, F harp in the key of F, but in the key of C, you can use that F harp in second position, and it gives you different, it's like modes, it gives you different scales and different options, and a different colour and tone. And for blues players particularly, who tend to stick to third position or second position, third position usually on the chromatic, because it just plays really nice big chords and octaves. If you've got a couple of different chromatics, it just opens up their playing. So the chromatic harmonicas, that's some of the things they can do. Now the difference in the models, there's quite a few different models. The standard super chromatica, which is the 270 48, 48 stands for 48 reeds. They usually have, or the traditional ones come with a wooden comb, nice tone, and it's got a slider there and chrome mouthpiece and a couple of plates. The brass reeds, brass reed plates, and they've got valves in them. Now, as you go down in price, or you go up to the 16-hole chromatics, you'll go to a plastic comb. And there are lots of different variations in the cover plates and the mouthpieces, but they're all tuned the same. Now, the 12-hole chromatic has 3 octaves. If you have a 16-hole chromatic, it's got a lower octave. It's got an octave down the bottom, so it's got 4 octaves on the 16-hole chromatic. Now, there's another chromatic in the range of keys called the C tenor. The tenor is like the bottom 3 octaves of a 16-hole, so it starts down the bottom and then it goes up, but it doesn't have that top octave. So in the CX12 range, you can get a C tenor, and in the 12-hole super chromatica, you can get a C tenor. Okay, next I'm going to talk about tremolo harmonicas and octave harmonicas. Now, these are very traditional instruments. They've been around for a long time, and the first feature about them, and there's quite a few different models. You've got a Seductora, you've got the Comet, you've got the Echo Harp, which is a very popular one. It's been around a long time. It sells well. People love that one. Echo Harp. You've got the Bravo. But essentially, there's 2 types. There's a tremolo and there's an octave. That's an octave. Okay, you've got a double row of reeds. So when you blow, you put your lips across both sides of the harmonica. You've got a double row of reeds. One is tuned an octave higher than the other. So it just gives that nice folk tune, and it's kind of good for European folk music, sitting around the campfire music, old-timey sort of music. They're quite hard to play if there's a lot of tunes you're trying to do and learn. They can be difficult because they've got a limited scale, but they're lots of fun to play, and it's got quite a different sound because of the double reeds. Now the other one, which is the tremolo, you can hear the difference, and what you've got here are 2 reeds, which are, let's say it's tuned to A in the 4th octave. You've got an A that's slightly flat and an A that's slightly sharp, and they're tuned so that they're beating against each other, and you get a tremolo sound. And that's what happens on an accordion. You get the old French accordions or the musette tuning, that you have 2 reeds playing. It's the same note, but they're tuned slightly apart, and you get a tremolo. And on a guitar, if you use an effect pedal, you get a tremolo sound. Same sort of thing. But here you've got 2 reeds going, and they're tuned to a tremolo, so in the same octave but slightly apart. Okay, this one's a Bravo. They're always coming out with different models, and some of the models' keys aren't available as they used to be, but you never know, they might come back. But C and G is the most popular one. They also made them in the key of A and D, and the reason why I'm putting those keys together is sometimes they were double-sided, so you can get an echo harp that's double-sided, C, G, C on one side, G on the other. But then you get single ones like the Comet, which is a really cool 1950s sort of retro style harmonica. It's got a plastic comb. The others have wooden combs, double row of reeds, but only on the one side. This one's in the key of C. I mean, if you're into Zydeco music, you hear diatonic accordions playing, and that's a harmonica that you could adapt for playing sort of Cajun Zydeco music. Anyway, they're a particular style, and you know, they're good fun to play, and especially the older generation, that's what they grew up on, the Tremolo and the Octave harmonicas, so they love to play those ones. So you've got, when someone comes in and says, I want to buy a harmonica, you say, well, what type do you want? You can buy the 10-hole diatonic, which is essentially the blues harp, but you can play, and it really suits the blues harp because of the scale and being able to bend the notes and get those bluesy sounds. But people play them in jazz, in country music, in rock music, in reggae music. But really blues, it suits the best, and folk music too. And then you've got the chromatic harmonica, which can be used for classical or jazz or blues, and folk music, whatever you want to play, but it's a different sort of sound. And it's probably, if you get an advanced player and they're really looking at more complex music, then you might suggest the chromatic harmonica. And then you've also got the tremolo and the octave tuned harmonicas, which are the double row reed harmonicas.